Hi, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is supposed to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you. Also, subscribe and hit the bell icon. So, welcome to Ace Fibro Girl Awareness Month. If you didn't know what that is, it's basically to raise awareness of fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body. Some asexuals happen to have fibromyalgia. I am one of those people. And one of the things that can really hurt someone if you have if you're someone who has fibromyalgia is being an abusive household. Now, obviously, being an abusive household can hurt anyone. You don't have to have fibromyalgia to be hurt by it. But fibromyalgia is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body. And when you're in an abusive situation, this might not be physically abusive, it could be neglectful, could be emotionally or mentally abusive, right? When you are under that level of stress and that level of abuse, pain is felt in the body 10 times more in the average person with fibromyalgia with any type of thing you have. And emotional pain causes more physical pain. Thus, you can get like 10 times more your physical pain than you usually get if you're in a situation that's causing you mental or emotional or otherwise distress. So I want to make it clear that abuse is not good or right or healthy or in any way, shape, or possible a good thing for anyone to have. It's not acceptable. It should never be accepted. However, today we're going to talk about what it's like when you're living at home with an abusive family system or caregiver system. You know, maybe you don't even live with your parents. It could be someone else you live with, right? If you're in an abusive home situation, it could be a spouse you're with, it could be a sibling you live with, then it sometimes you can't always get out of that situation immediately, right? Because you're financially reliant on that person. And this is what I want to talk to you about in the Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook. So I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a psychotherapist or psychiatrist. I don't hold any of those qualifications. But when I wrote my Ace Fibro Girl book, the Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook, I wrote it from my own personal experience and what I've learned over the years. I do have a basic counselling skills certification. I do have basic life coaching skills. And I do have a diploma in advice and guidance, but I'm not a qualified therapist. I have to do that as a disclaimer. So this is from my own personal experience. Then chapter 5 of the Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook, we discuss what to do in abusive situations. Now this doesn't have to be someone who's got fibromyalgia that's going through this. An asexual can experience this, but I know some asexuals also have fibromyalgia or other disabilities. And it can be very difficult because if you live in a family which doesn't understand your disabilities, whether that's a mental health disability or a physical disability, or you're with a family who doesn't understand your asexuality and is very abusive about it, very like mind manipulative, like dismissing it and doesn't accept it and is diminishing of who you are or belittling you, this can really affect you. So these techniques in the Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook are some that you might want to deploy. And it's just good to be aware of these things and to find out what else might be able to be done about it and what you should do ideally if you're in that situation. Obviously, you need to get out the situation as soon as possible and to get help from places like the Samaritans. Call the police if you're being physically threatened and it's safe to do so. All these type of things, these should go without saying, but I have to say them. You know, sometimes you are in a situation which is really physically violent and you have to get away, to go to a refuge, you have to phone a friend, phone someone else you trust, leave the place, take as little stuff as you can and just get the hell out of there. Sometimes that's what's necessary, right? Sometimes you have to turn up at the police station and that's the way it is. This is in really diabolical cases where you just can't be around there because you're going to get your head smashed in, right? If we're talking about less, I don't know how to put this, less less abuse in terms of like level of abuse. So say we're in the family home system and we're having some mental or emotional abuse going on. So some neglect, some dismissive of feelings, some belittlement, that type of thing. Like, what should you do in an abusive situation? So in this Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook, I discuss abuse and dysfunctional families. And I'm going to read from the book now. So what if you are depressed because you're in an abusive situation that is not immediately life-threatening, or you are part of a dysfunctional family that make you feel worthless or useless about your life and yourself? In this case, do not blame yourself, but be aware of the situation. This is really important because you have to start understanding that the family system you're in is dysfunctional. It's not a healthy family system for you. And if you've just been around dysfunction all your life, growing up, and maybe your parents and your other relations, your siblings, your grandparents or your cousins or your aunts and uncles, maybe you just live in a whole dysfunctional family system, they'll all be supporting each other and they'll all have a similar mentality and attitude, so they won't think they're abusing you. They won't even see the mistakes they make. The way they treat you is not on, it's disgusting, and they won't be consciously aware of how bad they're treating you, right? Because these people are actually mentally ill people who go around abusing others. And there's different types of mental ill health. Some people who are mentally ill don't hurt other people. They're more likely to internalize and hurt themselves, right? And then there's other people who are mentally ill that don't even realize they are, and they think that the way they treat people is fine and there's nothing wrong with it, and that they're the normal ones and everyone else is wrong, right? But it's not the case. So you have to understand that dysfunctional families cause for other people, family members, or one person or people in that family, they cause others to feel worthless and useless. So you might be in a family system where I can't talk about other people, right? Because what people tell me is confidential. But I do know of people who are asexual, some of them, others not, that have been in dysfunctional families and maybe still are in dysfunctional families, right? And so this is very difficult for them in their life. And if you have people constantly making you feel worthless and useless, and that you're a nobody and that you don't matter, that stuff gets drilled into your psyche, and it does manifest itself as physical pain in your body, mental distress, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and a lot more stuff, right? So what can you do to help yourself if you're in the situation? In this case, please don't blame yourself. Know that it is not right, it's not good, it's not proper, it's not on, it's not acceptable for them to treat you this way. Unfortunately, if you are financially tied in this situation, you feel pretty powerless. And especially if you are of the age where you cannot leave home by yourself. You're legally tied to your parents or your guardians, right? So in this case, you must not blame yourself. You must know that you are worthy of life, you are worthy of living. These people shouldn't be treating you that way because it's not the right way to be and treat someone. Be aware of the situation and get outside help, and know that it's even more of a reason why you must try to love yourself so that you can be as mentally strong as possible around these people. So these people prey on you. They try to grind you down, make you feel small. They try to put you down to make you weak. because the weaker you are around these people, the stronger they become, the more power they have over you, and the more hold they have over you, right? And if you've got fibromyalgia, you might be in a household that you've left your parents or siblings or guardians, and you're no longer living in the family home. Maybe you've got a spouse, maybe you're married to someone, and they just don't understand your fibromyalgia as a disability. They're not sensitive, they're not caring, they're moaning that you're lazy, they're complaining when you can't do things because you're in so much pain, and they really don't understand you, and they're just being nasty. These people prey on making you feel bad about yourself so that you will then curtail and cower to what they want you to do. It's a manipulation tactic. They make you feel bad about yourself, blur your reality, so you don't know who you are or where you're going, and you feel useless and worthless. So therefore, they can control you, right? So this is about control and power. It's not about love. It's not that they care about you, but they'll say they do, some of them. It's about power up, manipulation, and control. So in order to counteract that, you need to get into the habit of loving yourself. And I know this is so difficult if you're living in a household or family system like that, because it's hard to love yourself when everything and everyone around you in that environment is saying you don't deserve love, you're not worthy of love, you're not a nice person, blah, 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 and the rest of it. And it's like being in prison, even though you're not. Like, it's like you're compounded into a room with these people, and because you're only living and breathing with those people, you don't know any difference, so you believe what they say. Whatever they tell you, you believe, right? So know that it's not your fault. Only you can take responsibility for yourself to either get out that situation, which I would always recommend, or be able to cope with it in the most safe and least damaging way as possible, both mentally and physically. If you feel compelled to stay for whatever reason, such as because you are financially trapped, know you are not responsible for others' behavior, only your own. If you are constantly feeling belittled and worthless, told you are crazy, stupid, and that no one will love you for who you are, and are mocked for being you by those nearest and dearest to you, especially on a consistent basis, I know what that is like, to not feel loved, valued, and appreciated for who you are. I know what it's like to be mocked, to be put down a lot in your life, and made to feel small, and that other things are more important than you, and that any decision you make is the wrong one. All I can say is you have to remain strong and know that these people have their own problems that they are projecting onto you. Seek as much outside help and support as possible. Talk to friends if you can, or talk in private online support groups and forums to not feel so alone. Get a counselor, therapist, or other qualified help, and try to get out that situation that's causing you pain and misery as soon as possible. The more you stay in that pain and miserable environment, the more you'll become miserable and feel more pain, right? What we're exposed to over and over again, we become more like. That's why couples become like each other. That's why when you're in a work environment, you end up becoming similar to the work environment you're working in at the time. And that's how people change when they get into different groups, peer groups of people, right? Never believe that no one will love you for who you are and that you're worthless, because it simply is not true. So if you're in a household as well that doesn't understand your asexuality, that's saying you just can't get laid, you can't get anyone, you don't look good, and that's why you can't get sex and all the rest of it, don't believe them, right? Asexuals can get sex, just most of us don't want it, don't need it, and don't like it, and don't get the urge for it, right? Asexuals are still beautiful. There's nothing wrong with us physically. Do you know what I mean? We still look beautiful, and we've still got a lot of other things going for us, you know? So never believe that no one will love you for who you are and that you are worthless, because it simply is not true. And that's right, it's not true. Right, there are fibromyalgia support groups on Facebook, if you didn't know that, and there are asexual groups on Facebook. I run 6 asexual groups on Facebook. And when you're in a community of like-minded people who understand you, who are like you, and who care about you, then you'll realize that other people can love and care about you. You'll see that. And so therefore you'll realize that they're talking a load of rubbish, right? You are not worthless. You're worthy love and a good life. This includes if you're asexual, got disabilities like fibromyalgia. You're fully capable of love and of having others love you. Those who say you are crazy and stupid are the ones who are behaving so. Abusers, narcissists, and controllers want to manipulate you, to make you feel bad about yourself, so they can throw you off balance, to make you feel unsure of yourself, so you always need them as your emotional crutch. And they can push you away again at any time. This is really important. This is what a lot of people miss, is the fact that they want to make you unsure of yourself, because then you use those people or person as your emotional crutch. And if you're grasping at straws, if you like, if you're clinging on to these people and making you feel unsure of yourself, the only way you'll be on steady ground or feel steady at all is by holding on tight to those, right? And that means they've won, because they're your only security in life, which is not secure, because they're just propping you up, and then they can diss you, put you down at any time. So, if you are living at home with someone who is not good for you, then I understand how hard it is to not be depressed, but you owe it to yourself and your fibro to release yourself from that stress and agony in your life as soon as possible. That is no doubt making your pain so much worse. And this is the same for asexuality. If you're living with people, family, who don't understand you and making you feel worthless and useless because you don't want sex, you don't want a normal relationship, you're not the same as everyone else, then this will create a lot of pain and distress in your body, in your mind. It'll cause anxiety, it'll cause ill feeling, it'll cause you to be nervous on the edge. And you don't need that in your life. You deserve better, right? It creates bad energy in your body that can stay with you for years to come as trauma, which causes fibromyalgia and maintains and sustains the agony and flare-ups of fibromyalgia. You need to set yourself free from all past and current trauma as much as possible. The more you do this and the more you do this and get and apply your antidotes, along with eating the correct foods, eliminating the trigger foods that traumatize your body because they are no good for it, and do everything else I explain in this book. Don't forget to get a copy of Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook or on Amazon or Barnes& and Noble or Walmart. So along with eating the correct foods, eliminating the trigger foods that traumatize your body because they are no good for it, and do everything else I explain in the book, you will feel the more you do that, the more you will feel calm, happier, in control, have far less swelling and flare-ups, because with fibromyalgia you get swelling on body parts such as your feet if you get stressed, and the more you're able to live your life in spite of your fibro. In the meantime, be a superhero to yourself by giving yourself a mission of constant self-protection, self-adoration, positive self-talk, and of feeling valued to be alive. Take note of how well you are coping in that situation and praise yourself for dealing with it over and over again. So, it's really important that you spend the least amount of time possible with those toxic people by trying to make outside in-person friends and healthy online friends. But be careful not to get drawn to other controlling people without realizing it. People who have had or are in abusive relationships tend to have a habit of getting into others, as they find it hard to know what a good relationship or friendship looks like, and they seek validation and feeling of self-worth that is not within themselves or has never been instilled into them. And if you're not getting the love, care, and attention that you naturally want at home, it means you'll be seeking it elsewhere. This is why getting attention from yourself is super important for self-protection. Otherwise, you can be easy prey for predators. Don't feel so scared by this that you never try to make friends with others. Just know that some people are trustworthy and some are not. And online, they can cover up their lies more easily. But take your time to feel and sense that someone you grow attached to quickly really does have your best interests at heart, or if they are using you or have alternative, unhealthy intentions. Use your intuition to judge people in this way and be guided by it. So, yes, sometimes we have to use judgment. Like, judgment can get a bad rap, but you need to have judgment in order to decide if someone's healthy for you or not, or safe for you or not. And people do hide behind computer screens, and other people hide behind closed doors. So, families can be the worst people for treating you badly, you know? The people who are supposed to care and protect and love you the most can act the opposite. And this is really sad but true. And if you're living at home with people who don't understand your fibromyalgia, they can just be dismissing it like, oh, like, doesn't matter if you've got a disability, you still got to do this. Doesn't matter if you've got the disability, I still expect this of you. Like, they don't actually take into account and take seriously your disability. And if you're asexual, you might live in a household that talks about sex, watches sex on TV a lot, watches adverts with sex in, and they find it funny and fascinating, whereas you feel left out and lonely, right? You're not in the wrong for feeling left out and lonely. Toxic people don't give a shit about other people but themselves. And they'll watch what they want to watch, regardless of your feelings, you know? And so you need to minimize your time with these people, minimize the time with people who don't understand you and don't want to understand you and choose not to understand you. These people are not going to change, and you shouldn't wait around to see if they do. You know, look after yourself first. You know, so yeah, get a counsellor or therapist you like and get on with, who makes you feel good about yourself and you feel can help you, but realize only you can take the action to remove yourself from the situation you are in. Find and join online private groups and forums of people to understand what you're going through, which is why asexual groups and fibro groups are so good. Find and join private online groups of people who are inspirational in some ways, as well as those who are doing the hobbies you like or the things you enjoy. This will help you feel less alone, more optimistic for your future, and valid as an individual. Yeah, so if you've got fibromyalgia and you go on fibromyalgia groups on Facebook, the one thing I would say, it's good on one hand because you've got other people that can relate to you, but a lot of people in those groups are having miserable lives. And if you're constantly exposed to people saying how miserable they are with fibromyalgia, you're going to feel pretty shit yourself. So I would say even limit your time in those type of groups. I do. I'm not in them very often for that reason, because a lot of people are saying the negative side of fibromyalgia, which is huge, you know, and that's not helpful if you're trying to come to terms with it and get on with it, you know. So keep a diary of your thoughts and feelings. This will help you to not bottle them up and release toxins from your body. So if you've got family members who don't understand your asexuality, get a journal out and say this, like, say, I feel really angry right now. You know, my mum or my dad, they just don't understand my asexuality. They don't get how I feel. They don't get how I think. And then work out the solution. The solution is to find people who get how you think, you know. And if you're asexual, you can search for asexual groups on Facebook and join them. If you're a fibromyalgia, search for fibromyalgia groups, join them. Right, there's always someone in these groups that is similar to you. Right, so keep your diary of your thoughts and feelings, don't bottle it up. Make your diary your best friend and make any pets you have your best friend too. This way you can have some friends if you don't have any, and if you do have friends, that will help you to feel less alone when they're not around. A pet can always be a good thing. Start a blog, so it's like therapy for the soul, because you can distract your mind and it gets you interacting with other people on other blogs. And you can share photographs, daily ideas and thoughts. But remember, a blog is not private, so don't post personal stuff. Get outside hobbies and interests as much as possible. So basically, if you're not getting the right people in your immediate environment, like your family who you live with, or your caretakers, whoever they are, then you need to get it from outside sources. Like within yourself, you need to get it first. So get the love and compassion for yourself, but also get connectivity to outside people, people outside the home who understand you, who are like you, who can make you feel at home with yourself and with them, right? So get outside hobbies and interests as much as possible. Fill your mind and life with as many inspirational books, people, and videos as possible, and work on obtaining and applying your antidotes despite these toxic people around you. Think of your antidotes as your super shield and force field against the darkness and evils of this world. So the antidotes are in this book. The antidotes to pain, antidotes to fear, all these type of things. Your antidotes basically to help you feel better are in this book. Fibromyalgia, self-help homework. So get outside hobbies and interests as much as possible. Fill your life with inspiration stuff. Because if you're around negativity at home, then you do go, for example, in fibromyalgia groups, and everyone's talking about how much pain they're in, how many fibro furs they've had up recently, how they can barely move. That's just going to depress you even more. And so that's not healthy for you. And the same as in asexual groups. It's good to be in a variety of groups, ones that are inspirational as well, one that are enjoying the hobbies without sex, ones that are talking about their passions and their interests, not just the asexual groups where they're venting and saying negative stuff all the time, like, oh, these people are horrible and belittling. This, the media is so full of sex, I get sick of it. And it's fine for them to say these things, but if they're constantly saying life's shit for being asexual, it's crap, and they give them the impression they don't like being asexual, for example, that's not going to help you on your life journey, right? You need empowerment. You need to live into your ace fibro superpower, right? And you need to live into your asexual superpower, where there's nothing's wrong with you. You're not broken. And you deserve life. You deserve love. You deserve to be here, right? So get as many outside interests and hobbies as possible. Fill your mind and life with as many inspirational books, people, and videos as possible, and work on obtaining and applying your antidotes. Think of your antidotes as your super shield and force field against the darkness and evils of this world. If you are still a child in the eyes of the law, ask yourself if it's possible you could go and live with another family member you love and trust and who does not make you feel bad about yourself. Don't forget, these types of toxic people want to make you feel weak and powerless so they can control you and put you in a situation where you feel you can't leave. Because if you did, you would be worse off. But in the long run, you'd be better off, even if it will be hard at first. Right? So in a nutshell, to stop depression, you either have to change the way you think about yourself and your life and accept yourself for who you are in your situation for what it is, or change yourself or change your life and situation in some way and keep making changes until you're happy with it, and just choose to be happy and positive regardless, because the alternative is more painful if you don't. So if you are in a family that's putting you down, belittling you, making you feel shit, spend as little time as possible with them, connect with other people outside of that system, expand that family home, and allow them to help build you up, build your confidence up, build your self-esteem up. Go to asexual in-person meetups if you can. Have people who feel your fibro pain and understand you, and you have to take active responsibility for yourself and for your own health and well-being by making a decision to change yourself, your mindset, and your life. I used to dislike myself and my life and have a very passive attitude towards it and not value my worth. Now I am the opposite. I love my life. I love myself implicitly, even with my weaknesses and flaws. My life is always quirky, and there is never a dull moment when I'm spending time just with me. So yeah, it's really important. I hope you got the good message that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. If you've got a disability, it just means that something doesn't work like it should do, and that, it's not your fault. And sometimes we are born into families, or we get into circumstances where those we really care about and love the most, who we expect to keep us safe and protected and feel, make us feel loved, wanted, needed, and special. Sometimes they don't do that job. Sometimes they do the opposite. Sometimes they make you feel like you're a really bad person, that you shouldn't exist in this world, that you shouldn't be here, you're broken somehow, and that, you're not okay to be who you are. But this is simply not true. And if you're in a toxic, abusive system, family system or otherwise, get the hell out there as soon as possible. If you're financially reliant on them, then spend as much time on your own as possible or with other people who do care about you, who do understand you, who do want you to succeed and who make your life feel so much better. Limit your time with toxicity and raise your time with positivity, with people who care about you. And even by spending time on your own, it's better than spending time with someone who's just putting you down all the time, doesn't understand you, doesn't get you. Right? Limit your time with these people. If you're asexual and you're around family members who don't understand you, that doesn't mean to say there's anything wrong with you being asexual or that you shouldn't talk about it or you shouldn't be yourself. Be yourself in spite of those people and know that it's fine to be asexual. There's nothing wrong with it. You can't help your sexual orientation. You don't have a choice. It's who you are. And you deserve to be happy. You deserve love. You deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. And so I hope you found this video useful, helpful, insightful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Remember to connect with like-minded people who support you, who energize you and make you feel good, and who will be like your virtual family, if you like, and take care of yourself, most importantly, and love yourself. And then minimize the time that you have to be around the people who are toxic and abusive. So you minimize your exposure to that. And that stops you having so much pain in your body and mentally and emotionally too. I hope you found this helpful. Share this video with a friend or anyone who may benefit. Subscribe and hit the bell icon if you haven't already. Thumbs up, and I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. Lots of love. Bye.